Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. I'm sure most of you have heard already that the Supreme Court has declined to hear the lawsuits regarding bump stocks. They are letting stand the ability of the ATF and, whatever administration, it was the Trump administration that banned them. It is letting stand their right to do so. They are saying, we're not going to change this or defend them. They're basically saying they agree that these items are not protected by the Second Amendment and therefore not worth defending. So I know a lot of you are really upset because you've been being told by the same people that have been telling y'all along that, oh my God, we got to have bump stocks. We got to help defend this industry and blah, blah, blah. They've been telling you should be upset. But I honestly don't think you should be that upset. In fact, I'm kind of glad that the lawsuits aren't going any further. And before you all jump on, let me explain why. I think after I explain it, you might understand. And you might agree even. Might even change your mind. This was being paid for by our money. This lawsuit to defend bump stocks. The GOA, groups like that, when we give them our money, they use part of it to do stuff like this. The rest goes to salaries and kickbacks and everything else. So they're using the portion of our money they don't keep to fight this lawsuit. Instead of the industry that is profiting off this, fighting it, they're fighting it with our money. So basically what they're doing is they're fighting for a private industry to maintain a profit, to keep profiting off of an infringement to our rights. That shouldn't be the goal or the role of the GOA or any other national organizations or any gun organizations that are working with our money. They shouldn't be defending a private industry that is profiting off of a product that requires our rights to be infringed. I've said this 100 times. I don't know why people can't understand this. If it isn't for the infringements on our rights, if it wasn't for the fact we can't have fully automatic weapons, then bump stocks would not exist. If you could go out today and for an extra $50, you could buy an automatic AR-15 or AK-47, who would buy a bump stock? No one would. So these same people that are paying the GOA, through donations and maintenance and paying these talking heads on the internet through kickbacks and sales kickbacks, those people are, these companies are doing this with a vested interest in maintaining the violation of our rights. They don't want us to get fully automatic weapons or their business would go away. So behind the scenes, they make sure we don't make any real progress. And the companies that work with them who want us to keep giving them money so they can fight these battles, make sure we don't really make any real progress. The only progress we've been making is in the courts. And the only time the big organizations get involved is when they see that this is kind of an inevitable thing and we want to be on the right side of it. Otherwise, they like the status quo. It makes them a lot of money. And maintaining things like bump stocks, that's maintaining the status quo. Basically, bump stocks are just an addition to a firearm. They're not a firearm in any way. They're not a normal, functional piece of a firearm. They are some oddly crafted item to try to make up for the fact that we can't have fully automatic weapons. At least most of us can't. They themselves are not a firearm. Saying that they are would be like saying, that banning them is a violation of the Second Amendment would kind of be like saying, everybody puts flashlights on their ARs now, but we're going to ban flashlights that are over 1,000 lumens. And a lot of people are like, but I like 1,000 lumen flashlights. I like them more than that. So I'm going to fight because it should be able to go on my gun. So it's a gun right. No, that's kind of similar to bump stocks. It's a more egregious example than bump stocks, but bump stocks are garbage. They're pieces of plastic junk that are bad for your gun. They're not guns. We shouldn't be fighting for them. We should be fighting to have fully automatic rifles. That's what the GOA should be fighting for. That's what any gun rights group that exists off our funds should be fighting for. Our rights, not the ability of a private company to benefit from our loss of rights or an infringement on our rights. I don't know how much plainer I can put that, how more plainly I can put it. The GOA and these other groups that are fighting for things like bump stocks and pistol braces, they're basically fighting for private industry that helps fund them to maintain a profit margin off of an infringement on our rights. I've said that a dozen times already this video. Let that sink in. They're doing this to benefit an industry that wants us to continue to be infringed upon so that they can continue to exist and to continue to rake in money when they should be fighting for us. They're not fighting for us. They're fighting off people that profit off of us by selling us products that we wouldn't need otherwise. We would not need bump stocks if you could buy fully automatic rifles. We would not need pistol braces if you could put a stock on any gun you wanted. If they fought for our real rights, these things would go away. But here's the thing. Both of those industries are making a lot of money. And they're giving some of that money to these groups and to these talking heads on the internet so that they'll convince you that this is a fight you need to fight because this is important to us. It's not important to us. Name one person out there. I want to see one person raise their hand and say, I would rather have a bump stock than a fully automatic rifle if I could get one for the same price as a semi-automatic rifle. And I will tell that person, you're a moron. Because what we want is our rights back. We don't want little cheap fucking gadgets that are garbage. Who would want a fucking pistol brace if they could just put a stock on a short-barreled rifle? If you could just take a pistol rifle, a rifle pistol, a carbine, and just put a stock on any one you wanted, no matter the length, there was no rules. Why would you want a fucking pistol brace? They're garbage. Just like with the bump stocks, if you could get a fully automatic rifle, why would you want that cheap piece of plastic crap that can fail and is bad for your gun? Your gun's not meant to bash around like that. Why would you want it? You wouldn't. You'd want a true automatic. You'd want a true SBR or SBS. So stop being convinced that we need to fight and the groups that we fund need to fight for the industry. They don't need to fight for the industry. The industry requires a lot of things that are bad for us. A lot of infringements or threats of infringements. Fear sells product. So if we live in a safe environment, people don't buy as much product. So the business side of the gun industry doesn't want us to be safe and secure. They want us to be constantly embattled. So they make more money. And the Second Amendment isn't about making more money for industry. It's about protecting the rights of citizens. So if these groups like the GOA, etc., wanted to fight for us, our rights, they'd be fighting to get rid of the NFA, They'd be fighting to get rid of all these anti-Second Amendment infringements. That's where they'd be spending their time and their efforts. They wouldn't be spending big money on Second Amendment cases that don't really involve the Second Amendment or really matter to our rights other than to maintain infringements. But a lot of people don't seem to be able to get that through their head. It's because they're constantly bombarded with this is something you should care about because this lines my fucking pocket. Do you know how much money I made off selling bump stocks or putting links up to bump stocks where I got a 10% kickback every time you bought one? It was a lot of money. How am I going to pay my car payment now if you all don't buy bump stocks? Because I don't get a kickback if you just buy a semi-automatic or a fully automatic rifle if it was legal. But I get kickbacks off these, so I want to keep these around. Stop being fooled. I'm tired of having to say this. Stop fighting for the right to profit off of infringements by private industry and start demanding that these organizations start fighting for our rights. Like I said, tell them to stop fighting for the money and start fighting for the people because we need to start doing that now while the courts are on our side and while we have the greatest chance of victory ever. But unfortunately, so many of these companies and the talking heads that support them have convinced you that you're better off if you fight for these infringements because that's what you're fighting for when you fight for these products. So stop falling for that and demand that these companies start doing what's right. The GOA, etc. That even the companies that are profiting step out of the fucking way. If you want to fight a lawsuit over these products, pay for it. Fight your own lawsuit. I support that fully. But when it comes to the organizations that use our money to fight, like I said, they need to fight for our rights, not your profitability. All right, everybody, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I don't see how you could since I just bitched all the way through it. But I do hope to see you again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.